Hello and welcome to the C-Team. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank.
Today we are talking about San Diego Comic-Con. Happened last week. A lot of new things learned. We heard some new things about some things we already knew about. And I need to find a better way to say things than things. Okay,
Right.
so,
And things that we didn't hear about, but we'll get to that when we come to it.
okay, so kind of jumping off from last time where we talked all about DC.
Yeah, how much
This-
we love DC.
This time we're jumping on Marvel. And first thing that caught my attention was Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
The new trailer is out, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was never not excited for it. I was like, I knew it was coming out, and I mean, I don't look for trailers.
I have to make him watch trailers.
Yeah, I don't like things hyped up for me, but we'll get to that finer point. But Thor, so we see Hulk, Thor, and Loki, as we expect. But my big question for all Thor is, where is everyone else?
Yes, Sif and the Warriors 3 are very prominent in the first two movies. The second movie even had Odin trying to set Thor up with Sif.
Yeah.
Sif showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it's conspicuous that they're not in the trailer. They are cast. They are in the movie somewhere.
Yeah,
But-
I looked it up on IMDb. It's like, they're in here. Oh, okay. I would like to see more of them. And who are these new guys? So we have the Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum, that lady who captures Thor. What was her name?
She's Valkyrie, I'm
Valkyrie.
pretty sure. She's actually she was presented as a new love interest for Thor, so maybe that's why Sif's getting pushed aside. Jane Foster, I guess, is just out of the picture entirely. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Natalie Portman, apparently she's not stepped down from the role, but she's basically, as I understand it, said that she wants to be more than just Thor's girlfriend, which I understand. She wants a more active role. What's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow said basically the same thing in regard to Pepper Potts, so that's why we haven't seen her in a couple movies.
So another love interest to anger fans.
So, but I'm going to talk about what I liked from the trailer. I think the movie looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be a good time, and I like seeing, in particular, a smart Hulk. I like the idea of Hulk being actually not just the big crazy rage monster, but able to hold a semblance of a conversation and act rationally. And I really like that bit in the trailer where him and Thor are just kind of chilling out and talking to each other.
One thing I like to point out about that conversation, Hulk and Wolverine have a very similar conversation in Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah, they're away from the team for a bit. It was like, oh god, they're out fighting, but they're actually just sitting and chatting. It's like, yeah, we're the guys who really just take care of the business. We're the two monsters. So it's a very similar vein to that.
Yeah, they end up doing that a lot in Marvel, where they'll take some conversation from the comics and recast it in a movie.
Right.
But I was worried when I saw the first trailer that fight was all we were going to see of Hulk. And I'm glad to see that Hulk and Bruce Banner are going to have a presence in the movie beyond that. And I like just the relationship between the Hulk and Thor, and just how happy Thor is to see the Hulk.
Yeah.
He hasn't been that happy in the movies to see anybody else. Let's be real here.
Here's the thing. The trailers for Marvel to this point basically shown the obvious points, Winter Soldier's going to be there, but what they don't show how Hydra's involved. They
left some twists.
And I didn't look at the Hulk fight as thinking, oh, that's the last we're going to see Hulk. Yeah, I didn't see that. I knew that was going to be the tip of the iceberg. But the second trailer... another question. Where's Doctor Strange?
Yeah, his stinger has him talking to Hulk, and it's not Hulk, it's the Thor. And it's the long-haired Thor.
That would be
so
interesting, though.
It's apparently either before Thor gets captured and gets his hair cut, or... Yeah, it's hard to place that stinger within the movie. But I will say, in the trailers where Hela breaks Thor's hammer, that appears to be on Earth. So it's probably around there that it happens.
Right.
So
Like, I'm looking forward to the interaction between Loki and Doctor Strange. I think that's going to be.
I'm looking forward to the interaction between Loki and Hulk, because the last time they met, the Hulk just smashed the hell out of him in probably the funniest, best scene in Avengers.
Puny God.
So I want him to look at Banner and recognize him and go to Thor and be like, okay, what I'll just don't make. I'm not going to make him angry.
Yeah.
Because Loki kind of does know when he's beaten, and he doesn't want to go through that again.
So yeah, the trailer. See, now I'm thinking of it. I mean, I think they show a little too much. I think Thor with having the lightning powers without the hammer. I think that's obviously an ending bit that should have been cut from the trailer.
Yeah, it's a big confrontation with Hela in the ruins of Asgard.
Yeah, not to say that wasn't that no one thought that was going to happen, but I kind of feel that could have been cut. At the same time, there's a lot they don't talk, like we've discussed.
So I think there's still plenty of surprises to be had, and frankly, they could tell me the entire plot. It still looks like it's going to be fun.
Right.
Thor, he's got kind of a sense of humor in this. It feels like even after Asgard has been razed and he's lost his hammer, he's talking to the Hulk like very buddy, and just Thor and Loki, they almost look like they're getting along, and I think that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and. Well, one thing in defense of Thor, because it was my impression that he's not the most popular series in all of Marvel. And people like to point out that he doesn't have like the emotional depth of Captain America or Iron Man. But at the same time, if I'm honest, I'm never not happy to see Thor. When Thor comes in, it's like that big friendly, golden retriever who's coming to the room.
He kind of his hair, yeah.
Yeah, and
you almost want to pet him.
I am always happy to see him because he's cheerful. He's a little, and it's not like he doesn't have depth. Like one of my favorite scenes is when Loki's in prison and Thor's about to recruit him, and Thor's like, "All right, look, knock the illusion off. Let's talk for real."
Because Thor he's a smarter, deeper character than he gets credit for, because his outward facade is like this boisterous, warrior king or prince. So he kind of puts that forward and seems like a less deep character than he is. But his first movie is entirely about his emotional depth and developing from a god into a man. And he kind of develops more of that, and that's also why it's great to see him just so cheered to see Hulk. It's a range of
work.
Yeah, it's just very funny and kind of heartwarming to see him react like that to Hulk.
Even though they're both like forced into this fight, usually it's like, oh no, I can't fight my friend. And Hulk's like, yeah.
Well, I think part of that is Thor thinks that Hulk isn't going to fight him, and he's quickly disabused of that motion if the trailers are anything to go by.
You're getting those two mixed up.
I know. It's the single syllable 4-letter big guy words. Hulk is also kind of. I'm just going to talk about Hulk for a second. Hulk is one of my favorite parts of the MCU, but I understand why he doesn't have his own movie anymore. Because the Hulk is odd among the superheroes in that it's a bad thing in his own movies when the Hulk shows up. When the Hulk shows up, it's like Godzilla showing up. It's something that nobody around wants, because the Hulk is this just mindless, raging avatar of destruction. Which is why it was great in Avengers when he has an ensemble of guys who kind of know him, understand him, and when push comes to shove, might be able to take him. So he's given some room to grow in that, by the end of that movie, the Hulk is not this monster that you just kind of have to throw in front of the bad guy and hope he hits the right thing. He
will hit the bad guy.
Yeah, he's an intelligent ally to the team, and Thor is one of those guys. Thor and Tony Stark, they have it in common where they are not really that put off by the Hulk. Yeah. Thor, he's cheering the Hulk when he sees him, and when he joins the fight. And Tony, in particular, he spends half the time on the helicarrier poking Banner to bring out the Hulk. So it's kind of a changeover in that movie of the Hulk being seen changing from this danger that everyone's trying to avoid to a friend, an ally, and an asset.
And I will quote one review I saw. The Hulk is much more fun in small doses.
Yeah, if you make an entire movie about him,
it's at least very hard to without him basically being Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, because that's basically what the story is. But if you put him in an ensemble and you can play around with Bruce Banner around people who are like A, peers and equals, and B, not trying to like capture him or turn him back or something, you give him some time to shine in a way that, that's one of my favorite parts of Age of Ultron is just that party in the start, because like everybody's just getting along, including like Bruce Banner, who's been on his run for half of his life because he's the Hulk. Yeah. So I like that relationship. The relationships between the characters is one of my favorite parts of the MCU. I'm saying a lot of things are my favorite parts of the MCU just because I really like the MCU.
Really? I haven't gotten that impression.
And so seeing those relationships develop, is one of the things that has me excited for Thor Ragnarok. Right. So I think even if the trailer tells you everything that's going to happen, I think it's still going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, I again, it's a mix of why did they show this? Why didn't they show that? Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping it's not going to be because Sif and the Warrior 3 are going to get killed off in the first 5 minutes, because to my mind that's a sign of things kind of going downhill behind the camera.
Not necessarily. I haven't heard anything about their contracts. It could be just they're trying to introduce these new characters, so the old characters get pushed to the side. I wouldn't jump to those conclusions.
It's still an odd move. Like, he's trying to assemble this team. Why aren't they there?
Well, he's assembling them from a spot where he just was not in contact with them. I mean, he's the one who's captured and made to fight in this arena. The Sif and the Warriors 3 are apparently not.
Yeah. So because Sif was a big favorite.
Yeah,
it's kind of odd for them not to
have her in some capacity.
Yeah. One thing DC got right with the Justice League trailer, which we'll discuss in a second. They put Wonder Woman front and center.
Yeah, she's the leader of that. But
right.
before we jump back to DC,
we're jumping the gun a bit.
We talked for an hour about DC last time. So
we pulled DC, we jumped the gun. So let's
stay on Marvel for a little bit with something that did not appear at Comic-Con.
Yeah, not that in what I've read, because I don't live in San Diego, so excuse me. The X-Men Dark Phoenix. No trailer, no nothing. Really.
No, basically we have that it's been announced. We know the basic outline of the plot, and I'm actually happy to hear that they're going into the cosmic aspects of the X-Men.
Yeah.
One thing about the original trilogy is it was, and this is kind of speaking more toward the times the movies came out. There's been a shift in comic books to kind of originally they were very down to earth in that a lot of the fantastic aspects were downplayed or given more mundane explanations in the sense that you did not have even Superman. The most cosmic you got was other Kryptonians because they were established. You didn't see Darkseid or Brainiac or any of them until the newer movies, and the same was true at first with Marvel.
And
where the X-Men movies, they had mutants, but that was it. They did not go into any of the cosmic stuff, and that's been a shift that I think the MCU has to take a lot of credit for. With they brought in Thor as the actual he is the god, he is the Norse god, or as near enough as makes no difference. So that kind of is giving. Even though X-Men is a different studio, it's kind of giving them the license and the motivation to go into the weirder and more outlandish parts of the mythology, whereas the original movies, the Phoenix was, like the original movies, the Phoenix was not a cosmic entity.
Yeah, it was some weird power level.
It was like, it was Jean Grey's split personality. So I'm glad to see they're going into the more cosmic aspects and expanding it from there.
Yeah, and I guess part of it has to do with budget, special effects. There's only so much you can do, especially when Superman and Batman were first getting started. But it also has has to do with what the producers were willing to let creators do.
Yeah, that's...
And I always missed, until Apocalypse come out. I'm watching the movies like, okay, we're taking care of a lot of issues between politicians and human military men, but what about Apocalypse?
Yeah,
what
so
about?
Yeah, that's budget. I think you hit it on the head. Budget and what the producers. A lot of the things about keeping it down to earth was to keep it quote unquote relatable, to keep it to broader, wide, mainstream appeal. But now you have people in charge who kind of understand that the stories are already popular and already have that kind of mainstream appeal. And you can kind of build on that in the comics. You can, there are things you kind of do have to tone down. For instance, I doubt they're going to bring in Thanos' crush on like the entity of death.
There is the goddess of death in Thor. There is the goddess of death in Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, maybe that's maybe that's where we're going.
A villainous team up.
OTP, Hela and Thanos. We're calling it now.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, since the MCU has come out, since Thor, actually the one line Nick Fury has, when did everything change? It's like, when he showed up, Thor changed everything. Where Thor showed you can get away with and even thrive on the more outlandish, cosmic, fantastical elements of the comics. Not everything has to be, this is actually technology.
Yeah.
Or, this
Thanks,
is...
Thor.
Yeah, so Thor, thank you for that. You get credit for that.
But going back to X-Men, and just kind of... I remember being very excited for the first one, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a weird case, like, whenever Spider-Man, quote-unquote, screws up, they reboot it. The last couple times that happened... X-Men has screwed up in a couple of movies in a row between X-Men 3 and X-Men Origins Wolverine. They were both. They were weak entries in the series. Yes. And when First Class came out, I was like, all right, kind of a reboot, but staying true. And and I thought it was remarkable. It was very rewarding, Days of Future Past, that they managed to bounce back like that without having to reboot.
Yeah, Days of Future Past is kind of a reboot, especially since that series is the next, Dark Phoenix is going to be in the 90s. If they keep this up, the next movie will take place when the original movie was released.
Yeah, but when Cyclops shows up, especially at the end, I was just like, yes.
Yeah, that was something. That was really something, because they actually hid James Marsden's involvement. They said he wasn't in it. So when he shows up, it's like a genuine surprise. And that was kind of like, well, here's what we do know about Dark Phoenix, at least if it's following the ending of Days of Future Past. The end of Days of Future Past, Jean's alive and Scott is alive. So obviously, Phoenix, the whole thing is coming back from the dead. So I'm not saying Jean isn't going to die in this movie, but, we kind of already have a bit of a assurance that eventually she's going to be back.
Yeah, I mean, if we are going to go off the wall comic book logic.
I mean, well, they already did it. They killed her off in the second movie, and she comes back in the third movie.
Right. But because of time travel, which is somehow more acceptable than just reviving somebody. And,
it's Phoenix. That is literally the whole thing about the Phoenix coming back from the dead.
Well, it's kind of like she gets killed, becomes the Phoenix. Well, sort of. Then gets killed again, and then time travel prevented.
Well, I'm just saying. I think if you're familiar with the Dark Phoenix story, that is one thing that concerns me. There is a lot to the Dark Phoenix story. Jean in the comics, the Phoenix was this entity she picked up in outer space, basically. And she was just the Phoenix in the comics for a while. That was her superhero code name. Those were her powers. And it really was not a problem. And then she blows up a planet as the Dark Phoenix. And then the Lilandra's... what was it called? The Space Empire.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I'll look it up later. But Lilandra is the leader of this Empire of Aliens, and she's got a thing with Professor X. They kind of...
It's not the Kree, is it?
No,
Okay.
It's not them. So she gets wind of it and decides, basically, okay, this person is way too dangerous to exist. So...
Yeah, one blown up planet is crossing the line.
Yeah, the difference in the adaptation has been basically whether or not that planet was inhabited. In the comics, yes, it was, and she killed like 6 billion people. In the 90s cartoon, it wasn't, but she still kind of freaked out that she could do it in the first place.
Which I think is a good middle ground.
Yeah, it kind of preserves the scale of it. The Shi'ar, that's what it was.
So.
The Shi'ar Empire. It preserves the scale of the offense while, keeping the actual guilt a little away. And anyway, in the course of the story, the Dark Phoenix is, a darker version of Jean. And eventually, spoiler alert for like a 50-year-old comic at this point, or 40-year-olds, I think it was the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, she decides the X-Men and the Shi'ar troops fight it out over whether or not Jean is going to die. And the X-Men are winning the fight, but Jean decides that she is too dangerous and she sacrifices herself. And then later, because again, Phoenix, she comes back.
Know your mythology, guys.
It's a running joke that Mutant Heaven has a revolving door, and Jean has like a frequent flyer pass.
Yeah, it's like, oh hey, Jean.
Yeah, there's one point in the
Failed
comics
dodge again.
where Scott Summers, Cyclops, he has a plan. Step 1 is die, and step 2 is come back to life. And it works because, of course, it does. So the movies tried the Dark Phoenix saga before, and it didn't really work. It was The Last Stand.
And there were a few problems with that. For one, Bryan Singer's lack of involvement. He wanted to do the Superman movie first, go all in on that, and Fox was like, no, we need another X-Men movie like right now.
Yeah,
So we had Brett Ratner, who I don't hate as a director. He directed a couple of films I like, but this definitely was like a last minute pushed on him moment.
Yeah, the best X-Men movies have had Bryan Singer at the helm. So he's producing this, so that means I have confidence it's going to be at least a quality movie.
Knock on wood. So the director was an interesting choice, Simon Kinberg. If you guys don't know his name as a director, don't worry about it because this is the first time he's directing. His previous work was actually co-writing The Last Stand. And a quote, paraphrasing from him, he hopes to do better this time.
Yeah, the Last Stand had a few problems, not least of which was it took two very different, unrelated storylines from the comics and threw them together at the same time, so that neither of them really got the focus it deserved. And it also suffered from James Marsden leaving with Bryan Singer to work on Superman Returns, which I think was a huge mistake on his part. He would have been the lead in this movie. Cyclops, he's Jean's fiance, husband. They've always been together as characters. So he would have had a prominent role that, by necessity almost was taken by Wolverine. And I can understand going from X-Men to Superman, but only if you're playing Superman. James Marsden, it was a huge mistake to abandon what would have been a lead role, an iconic character in this storyline, to play Lois Lane's piece on the side.
Well, in all fairness to James Marsden, I think he took the role in Superman Returns with the understanding that they're going to do X-Men 3 later. I think that was the understanding, and then Fox kind of screwed them over.
Maybe, but just the role in Superman Returns for me would not have been worth it. I'm not jumping from Cyclops to Superman unless I'm upgrading to Superman, because Cyclops has the I-beams. Superman also has the I-beams, but he's also got a whole lot of other stuff. So he literally an upgrade in every way. But to play Richard White, the guy that you're playing Lois Lane's Rebound. And that's not worth giving up Cyclops for.
Yeah, but Days of Future Past, we learn from our past, and And we ended up changing the future, and Wolverine came back and prevented the Last Stand from happening. So
Yes, that might be his most heroic contribution
Yes.
to the series.
Wolverine, Thor, thank you both for making our superhero movies better. So good luck, Simon Kinberg and Bryan Singer. Just keep a close eye.
Yeah,
As a producer.
Bryan Singer knows what he's doing with X-Men, so they just let him do what he's going to do.
Actually, one of the most telling parts. One more thing about Days of Future Past. One of the things that just caught my attention right now when I watched the trailer is just a Bryan Singer film. You might as well have jumped out. It goes, I'm back.
And hearing the theme from the original X-Men movie come back, that was a sign that you were in for something good.
Yeah, and that's easily the best X-Men film, bar none.
Yeah, by far.
Bar none. And
okay, so
enough gushing over Marvel for 5 minutes. So Justice League. I watched the Justice League trailer, Mike, and I saw something.
what did you see?
It was amazing. I never saw this in a DC film except for one time.
What was it?
Colors. They finally got off that editing tool that made everything brown.
There's still a lot of brown in the movie, mostly around Batman.
Well,
but you're right. I think they've made a conscious decision in reaction to lighten up things, and you kind of saw it in the Wonder Woman movie. We mentioned, I think last time, she gets to London and it's got that brown filter, and
That's
she's
London.
like, yeah, she gets it's hideous. I think that was DC going like, okay, we get it, we get the point.
Yeah,
no more brown.
We finally gave the DC EU its Prozac.
Yeah, or uppers maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
but anyway, the trailer has some interesting things. The first thing I noticed, because it's literally the first thing mentioned in the trailer, is the ominous voice saying that Earth is defenseless, but specifically saying they have no lantern and no Kryptonians.
Yeah.
Now, the Green Lantern has not yet been mentioned in the DCEU. The Green Lantern movie, they tried to, that was their original attempt to launch the DCEU. That didn't go quite the way they planned. So this, to me, I'm wondering when they're going to bring it in. I've heard there's going to be a Green Lantern Corps movie. So this sounds like it's their way to start it up, similar to how in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, there's an offhand mention of Stephen Strange.
Let's just make sure the costume's not animated.
Well, I think it's going to have to be, because that's part of the suit is part of the superpower. But I see what you're saying, and
I'm just quoting Deadpool.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just shout out right now. Not that no one's guessed this at this point, but Superman's going to be in it.
Guessed it. Henry Cavill is on set in costume. We know Superman's back.
They did pull a fast one putting Space Merle on the set of Infinity War.
Yeah, Marvel has done that a couple times. They also did that with Age of Ultron, where they took one of the actors from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and had him on set, and then they killed him off in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So, but we know Superman's going to be in it, because the death and return of Superman is a classic storyline, and it's a classic storyline because it's the death and return of Superman.
Yeah. Superman lives.
Oh, let's not go there.
Yeah. So let's see. Why don't you go over the roles of the other heroes, and I'll be a jerk.
So the other heroes, anytime you have this kind of 5-man band thing going, they fall into different aspects of it. Wonder Woman and Batman are kind of the two leaders, where Wonder Woman, she's the one front and center. She's the one leading the charge, whereas Batman is the one kind of organizing things.
The PR.
And I like that she's the first shown in the trailers where she's like actually crime fighting.
And the most shown in the trailer, I should say.
Yeah. They show her the most because they know she has the best movie. So if they're going to make bank on this movie, they need to put her up front. But she's clearly, as we said last week, she is clearly at the head of the Justice League. Even when Superman was there against Doomsday, she was the one front and center, and I hope they do keep that up. And it seems they're going to be. They have not shown Superman in the trailer, and they've shown a lot of really big fight scenes. So I'm thinking Superman, he's going to show up like toward the end. But I hope it's not a thing where Superman shows up and like instantly wins the fight. I liked how in, the Doomsday fight, it was the three of them working together. And the whole tagline is, you can't save the world alone. So hopefully they're keeping it that way, and it's not the tagline, you can't save the world alone, ... unless you're Superman.
Yeah.
So I hope that they do keep that ensemble bit to it, even though Superman returning is clearly going to be the turning point in whatever this fight is.
Yeah, so, I guess superhero movies can't surprise us that much anymore. But,
well, especially when they're taking direct cues from the comics. The comics that the movies are being based on, the storylines happened, 30 years ago.
And most people who weren't in the comic books now but are into the movies probably looked up a lot of Wikipedia articles like I have. And are basically caught up on it. So the roles of the superheroes.
Yeah, Flash is clearly comic relief, and that's fine. That's something that the ECEU has needed, as long as he's not like incompetent comic relief. And the Flash has never really been written that way before, so I don't think they're going to go with this. And they've shown, he's doing a lot. I like the effect of him. His super speed effect when you're following him. I really like that, just that visual effect. And one thing about the Flash that's always been a constant in his character in the comics and TV shows and other things is he goes like so fast that he has a lot of power that he doesn't use deliberately, because he's one of those guys, he's almost like the Hulk in that he knows he can basically make you explode at will, but he doesn't want to.
Right. And, and then we have the rest of it, Aquaman, the big guy, Cyborg, the other big guy.
Yeah, Aquaman, I like that he's this, he's almost like Thor, where he is, the barbarian warrior king, and him and Wonder Woman are clearly having the best time fighting these aliens, and they keep showing Aquaman doing these ridiculous superpowered stunts, and I like that, because Aquaman, swims fast, talk to fish, and all that. So I like seeing Aquaman get his due.
Right. And I guess my one caution about this, and, I hate comparing this to Marvel, but what choice do we really have? The strong thing about Avengers is that they were all heroes before. They were all established heroes. They weren't like, all right, he's the funny guy, he's the big guy. So, and while you do have some of that, there wasn't really like an assigned role. It just naturally happened. Mm-hmm. All the jokes, like Captain America just didn't say that many jokes. No,
Captain America, a lot of his humor, at least in Avengers, came from being the fish out of water. Everyone else was making jokes around him, and Captain America's humor was that he didn't get stuff.
Right, and and even Guardians of the Galaxy, when we were just introduced those characters right then, it wasn't really, all right, he's the funny guy, he's the big guy.
Everyone's kind of the funny guy in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, they end up having more depth than that. I guess what I'm trying to say is avoid what you did with Captain Boomerang, and basically avoid Suicide Squad.
Just avoid that.
Yeah, and
so Cyborg, though, he's kind of new to me. I never really watched Teen Titans, so I don't know much about the character except that he is part robot. So I'm interested to see what role he's going to play, where he might also be like a similar heavy artillery guy to Aquaman, but in the comics he's also like a technical genius, or at least as far as I have been able to find, he's a technical genius who Batman consults with, so maybe he's going to take kind of that kind of role.
Yeah, maybe like between Iron Man and the Hulk.
Yeah, something like that. Very Iron Man-esque character, especially when he puts the face mask on. So it'll be interesting to see that. And finally, J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon.
That was the biggest surprise from what I've seen in Comic-Con.
Yeah, to be honest, I could not visualize him in the role until I saw the trailer, and then it kind of fits.
Yeah, he doesn't quite shout out Commissioner. In fact, I thought he was Alfred first.
Oh no, yeah, that's Jeremy Irons.
But so I was a little confused. Like, okay, so that's Gordon. He didn't shout out Gordon the way Gary Oldman did.
Gary Oldman, he was a good Gordon, but I'm not sure I would say he shouted out Gordon.
Well,
but
as soon as I
J.K.
saw him, I knew
Simmons,
who it was.
Gordon actually, the visual in the comics, Gordon does share a lot visually with J. Jonah Jameson. Kind of similar haircuts, mustache,
Parker.
less of a temper, but both with the cigars actually.
Yeah.
And so I can kind of see it now. I'm wondering like how much of a role he's going to play.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's a lot going on in this movie. You have the Amazon showing up, you have Atlantis showing up, and you have Gotham City PD showing up. One of these is not like the others.
I'm just picturing the Gotham PD, like Bill Bowers just like, what do we do? Secure the perimeter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See all those guys flying
They're in
around
space.
up there? Just start shooting. The ones that we like are mostly bulletproof anyway.
Yeah, basically. Are the bad guys bulletproof? Probably not. They don't.
Well,
they don't understand bullets.
It's worth finding out.
Yeah, like, you know, what worst comes to worst, we just have one less bullet.
Yeah.
And
So I'm getting more excited for Justice League. I think they're starting to hit their stride, and I think they're getting somewhere.
and I'm going to be cautiously optimistic
That's fair.
because that's a thing, despite the meaning of words.
Okay, so moving on a little bit, and I put this in the show notes as let's talk about something non-comics, and then Frank pointed out to me that it is in fact from a comic book.
Yeah.
Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I loved the original Kingsman.
Oh, it's great.
It's one of the movies that had me like, you know, engaged the whole time, and I almost literally fell out of my seat laughing at the pomp and
you almost fell out
circumstance
of your
bit.
sleep.
That too. No, but the pomp and circumstance bit, I was like laughing hysterically. My friend sitting next to me had to check if I was okay.
Yeah.
So I am excited for Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
Yeah, it was a surprise. It was kind of a surprise hit, which deserved a lot more money than 50 Shades. And
But so Kingsman: The Golden Circle, we've seen a couple new trailers. Getting to see the Statesman. I like the idea of the American. They're almost too American, but I kind of like that idea too. It's like
almost
whiskey.
too American.
It's whiskey and lassos. I mean, whiskey cowboys and lassos.
yeah, I was thinking, Statesman maybe like Jefferson or Washington.
No, cowboys.
Yeah, cowboys. In my mind, actual like presidents, politicians stuff would actually make a bit more sense. But okay, fine, cowboys.
It looks cool, and I'm excited for that part of it. It looks like the same kind of visual direction, and that was like one of the best parts of it, where it was kind of almost superhero-esque in the action as opposed to like the down and dirty of James Bond or Jason Bourne.
It was very comic book, especially when Admiral Norrington gets chopped in half.
Yeah, it is it's very stylized in a way you really haven't seen in a while. Now, while I am excited for the trailer and I'm probably going to enjoy the movie, I have one burning question. I think if any of you are following the Twitter, you've seen me ask it already, but where is Roxy?
Yeah.
Roxy, she was a strong part of the original movie. She didn't get down into the trenches with Eggsy, but she had a part to play. She was intelligent. She was capable. She was as or even more capable than him. And it's disconcerting to me that not only is she not in the newest trailer, but she's not in any of the marketing either. I really hope that she's not just being killed off in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think that would be a bit of a cop-out.
It would be a waste of the character.
Yeah, it would.
Because she had a lot going for her, just as she was treated as Eggsy's equal. She got the spot in front of him. Spoilers for like 2 years ago, and perhaps most importantly, she was never a love interest for him. She was never a prize for him. She was a friend, a colleague, but an equal, and she was not reduced to oh, you have to save her, or oh, here's your romance. She was just her own capable person. She was. Yeah, and if they're getting rid of her, I think that's points against the movie. I do take some. The previous trailer did show her a couple times. They showed her in in two separate scenes. One, she was, in the full Kingsman outfit with the glasses at the office. And the other, it looked like she was at home in bed in like a bathrobe. So I'm hoping that means that she is in the movie, but they're just kind of keeping it under wraps. I'll be okay with it if it looks like she gets killed and then like she comes back. That would be okay, and would also kind of fit with them bringing Harry Hart back, who he took a bullet to the face and came back. So even if they kill her off, I guess
I'll go better.
Yeah, I guess it's not like totally out of the question, but I think if they're getting rid of the character to ratchet up the stakes, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, and I never really like that trope. Some people go, it's like, well, it's more realistic. I'm like, realism.
That's why
watch the movie again.
Yeah, realism.
And, get back to me about realism.
Realism is why I'm watching a movie with secret agents and spies and lighters that turn into hand grenades.
Yeah, cowboy, Belmont.
Yeah. So speaking of bringing people back from the dead, Harry Hart, he did the whole. He did
decisive.
He was shot in the head right on screen.
Yeah.
That's usually something you don't come back from.
It's divine intervention, only it's working against Samuel Jackson this time.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how much they're going to explain. I mean, he's wearing like an eye patch, so clearly he did still get shot in the face.
Was he wearing an eye patch?
Yeah, or his glass, his one lens of his glasses are blacked over. So if I had to guess, my guess is that maybe like he got shot in the glasses and that deflected enough of it.
I suppose
that he just took like a shot like Carl did and lost his eye.
Yeah. I suppose the main villain of the first one was kind of a Nancy boy.
Yeah, and he turns away before he shoots.
Yeah.
He's not even looking, so it's entirely possible he botched it.
Yeah.
Which would be that would actually be kind of funny.
Yeah, he wasn't really great at being a villain.
No, well, he was great in some respects, but like the physical stuff, like so he like turns away. Yeah. If you watch the movie, he's not looking when he fires the shot. So I would consider it entirely plausible that he left him there and he was in fact still alive.
Yeah,
a little less so that none of his goons or his henchwomen noticed, but we'll work with what we got.
Yeah, because you figure if he was still breathing, someone else would have. It's like, oh, you missed, cut.
You'd think, but Anyway, so I'm not sure. I like the character Harry Hart, but I also think like his death was kind of like fitting for Eggsy's story. So I'm not sure whether bringing him back is a good or a bad thing. I'm kind of reminded of Men in Black 2, where Men in Black, the first one ends with Tommy Lee Jones getting his mind blanked and retiring, and Will Smith is like the head agent at that point. Then they bring him back in the second movie, and that kind of returns the dynamic to what it was in the first movie.
Yeah.
It was kind of a step back, and I'm hoping that's not what they do here. I'm hoping that we see Eggsy as, the competent agent that he was at the end of the first movie. And that is... I want the movie to go forward with its plot and characterization and not step back because, this worked in the first one. It worked in the first one because it was the first one. The second one, you do something new.
Yeah. You can't just revert to being a rookie, like, out of nowhere.
Yeah, I can understand him being a little outclassed by Harry, but for one thing, he's got a couple advantages on Harry by now, like binocular vision.
Yeah, and being younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it, but, there are a couple places that I've seen so far that I'm kind of wary about.
Yeah, a lot of the trailers have raised a lot of question marks, haven't they?
Well, a trailer should, because you want to see the movie to find out what's going on.
Right, but it feels a little more baffling than it usually is.
Yeah, I suppose. So now we're going to something that actually isn't a comic book, even though a lot of the properties have since been comic books. But Kingdom Hearts 3 was also, you saw some new footage, and honestly...
why don't you sum up Kingdom Hearts?
I would if I could. Kingdom Hearts started as a relatively simple crossover, of the Disney properties and Final Fantasy, and it was a fun game. And then it started getting really complicated, really confusing, and I could not really tell you in a sentence, what the series is about, except for the Heartless. I know they're bad. I know Sora's good.
The nobodies are bad too, I guess, maybe.
Yeah,
Except when they're not.
Yeah, it's so Kingdom Hearts 3, if you had talked to me in 2006 or 7, I'd be a lot more excited for this, but it's been 12 years since the Kingdom Hearts 2, and I would have to replay that and play through all the side games that explain all the things in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, and those aren't exactly like short games. Like and if I'm honest, when I think of like the PS2 era, one of my favorite console periods, that's usually not the first one to come to mind. That could just be me personally, but I remember games like God of War,
Metal Gear Solid,
not Dante's Inferno, Devil May Cry, Champions of Norath, it had a lot of good games.
Kingdom Hearts was something I was a lot more invested in when it was fresh, when we had Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2 coming out in some kind of like rapid thing. Waiting 12 years is always rough because Haley Joel Osment, I don't know if he's still going to sound like a 14-year-old anymore. I'm pretty sure he's like 30 at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's interesting to see the other worlds that they're bringing in, though. The Toy Story world looks really good. I mean, I think the PlayStation 4 could probably render the original Toy Story on the fly if it needed to.
Yeah, especially compared to the tech they had when the original Toy Story came out.
So the design for Sora and company in that world, and I like that they are kind of going back to giving them new costumes in different worlds. That was something the first one did more than the second one.
Really?
Yeah, to an extent. I feel like...
Well, I mean, The Lion King had like whole other like animations.
Yeah, but I felt like it was more pronounced in the first one. So I'm glad to see them doing that. The designs look interesting. I want to see Kingdom Hearts kind of branch out a little bit. They've done mostly the movies. I want to see like maybe a side game with the Disney Afternoon. I want to see the Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, the Mighty Ducks if they still have the rights to that.
Oh God, Donald in a
actually there's a lot of ducks. There's like.
Well, Scrooge McDuck, isn't he an NPC somewhere?
Yeah,
he doesn't even have a speaking role. He's just there.
Yes, Scrooge and Huey, Dewey, and Louie are in there. I mean, Donald is obviously in there. But like, there isn't like a DuckTales world or a Darkwing Duck world. And I would really like to see that. I would especially like to see Gargoyles, because that's one of my favorite series.
Yeah, maybe only like one of the Duck franchises.
Well, actually, most of the Duck franchises are actually one franchise.
Well,
Darkwing Duck is in the same world as DuckTales. That's what Launchpad shows up.
Right.
Gizmo Duck shows up.
So I guess we can cram those into like one.
And in the new DuckTales cartoon, Darkwing Duck is going to be in it. So it is one world.
We have a new one coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So Kingdom Hearts 3, I don't have a PlayStation 4 yet, so I may or may not end up playing it, but I'll just say I'm not as excited as I could be for it.
Yeah, and again, it was never, like, even when the second one came out, I was really excited for it, and to anyone who's played the second one will know what I'm talking about, that long introduction with Roxas.
Yeah,
that was a wall that shouldn't have been there. That sucked all my enthusiasm out.
It was too drawn out, too many like needless fetch quests. It could have been curtailed considerably.
Yeah.
So and that was another one everyone got so excited for when it was coming out. And that's kind of the problem with to an extent with events like Comic-Con and stuff like that is hype. The hype train leaves the station and kind of runs out of control.
Yeah, like, I mean, let's talk about Infinity War for a second. I mean, it's not going to have the same hype as, like, say, Duke Nukem Forever or...
Duke Nukem Forever, I wouldn't say had hype so much as it had anticipation. Like, people weren't clamoring for it. It was more along the lines of, oh, it's been 12 years. It's finally coming out. Let's see what's going on.
Well, the thing about Infinity War, we always understood that as part of a schedule. Like,
yeah, it's always coming.
They always had a plan, and that was always reassuring. So even though it's been a few years between Thor movies, we're not like, oh, well, you finally showed up. It's never been like that, so we're avoiding that. And Infinity War will also avoid the problem of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Sorry to bring up that old sore, but where you had too many characters, not enough screen times, and everyone getting killed off for like no reason.
Yeah, Infinity War, it's going to have an enormous cast. I think basically everybody who's shown up in a Marvel movie so far is going to show up in this. And that could be bad as far as characterization. You're just not going to have time for everybody to get their personal story in. So my guess is it's probably going to be Cap and Iron Man and like maybe Doctor Strange or maybe Gamora.
Yeah, I think Gamora and Nebula should definitely get some focus. But I guess my word of advice to fans is enjoy for what it is. It's not going to live up to the hype you've dreamed up in your head.
Yeah, nothing will.
It probably isn't even up to the standards that the creators have dreamed up in their heads. It's you're gonna have to, practically you have to focus on a few characters and not every single person. Not everyone was going to have an arc.
Yeah, this is going to be a group of ensembles, like Thor's whole entourage, whoever survives Ragnarok anyway, they're going to be there as like a unit. The other Avengers are going to be there as a unit, and
there is a lot you could do with that. You could definitely show the action, show their characters through their abilities and stuff like that. But don't be disappointed just because, say, like Black Widow doesn't get enough screen time, which she doesn't. Let's be honest, but she probably won't in this iteration. And enjoy for what it is. Not to be a downer. In fact, I don't want you. This is for me to prevent you from being a downer. Just turn off your brain and enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, it's going to be tough to live up to what everybody expects of it. But so far, even the bad Marvel movies have been good.
Yeah. Like I think Dark World has had some dumb moments, like with Selvig.
Yeah, that was a little much.
Yeah, but even then, I'll definitely watch Dark World 1,000 times before I give Batman vs Superman another look, or Incredible Hulk. And
Incredible Hulk wasn't a bad movie. It was just not as it's a weak part of the MCU, but I still would not say it's a bad movie.
Yeah. Well, I don't give MCU that much grief for it, because it was still them trying to get their stride. It's like Iron Man came out, it was just they made it as a standalone and then added in Nick Fury.
Hulk, as we said before, Hulk is hard to get right with a solo movie.
So they're still getting their stride down, which I would say they really got their peak. I mean, aside from Avengers, they not their peak, but they definitely had things going by Winter Soldier.
Yeah, definitely by that point was where it really had solidified into what it's going to be going forward.
Yeah, Winter Soldier, to me, was the first really, really good film in the second phase. And
I can't argue that too much. It was really... It was a good film, not only just as well put together, but it changed the direction of the franchise as a whole. It turned a lot of things over on its head, which I was not expecting from a Captain America movie. I would have expected that from an Avengers movie, like one of the big team-ups, but you kind of expect a certain status quo going from one phase to another.
But let's stay on topic. So Infinity War, enjoy it, and whatever Part 2 or whatever Avengers 4 is going to be called.
Yeah, don't give in to the hype. Don't let the hype make you disappointed with the final product.
Yeah, as a personal thing, that's why I kind of avoid. I avoid trailers for two things. I don't like things being hyped up. Like I've had games hyped up for me, I end up not enjoying it, and some of my favorite games have been stuff that I knew nothing about. And also, the whole thing, with trailers spoiling things is, especially like Spider-Man 2's trailer.
Yeah, you don't want a trailer that gives away all the interesting parts of the movie.
Yeah, a trailer is not a synopsis; it is the back of the book.
Yeah, the trailer's supposed to get you interested, not like tell you everything that's going on.
Yeah, and the stuff they didn't show for Spider-Man 2 just kind of got on my nerves. And but we're not talking about that, so let's. So a fluffy topic. Now that I've done lecturing all you children.
Yeah, conventions are not just about announcements and trailers, and it's a lot about what's going on the floor. We've, Frank's been to Comic-Con a couple times. We both go to...
Well, once.
Once? I thought it was one. Oh, anyway, we've gone to conventions. We've gone to VG Expo, was an old one that seems to have fallen off the map. MagFest, Music and Games Festival down in Alexandria.
Yeah, MagFest.
National Harbor.
Yeah, which is still growing, which is still going strong.
It's getting big. I think they're going to probably need another venue in a couple of years.
So, let's start with Comic-Con because that'll like kind of lightly take us away from San Diego.
There's like 6 Comic-Cons now.
Yeah, something like that. So I went to New York Comic-Con a couple of years ago. I was dressed as Hector from Fire Emblem, and that was a lot of fun. Really crowded, and I was also carrying around a book. See, long story short, I forgot my ticket. Mike got it for me, and in exchange, he had me have Kevin Conroy sign
a DC art book by what was his name? A DC art book that had a particular art of the DCAU Batman, who was played by Kevin Conroy. Yeah. So Frank's carrying around this thick book to get the signature.
Yeah, carrying around a thick book, and
Alex Ross. That's who did the art.
So I was carrying around this book and holding this axe, and it is crowded, lines everywhere, and I am tired. I'm just like, it was a dangerous day for me to have a wooden axe in my hand. Yeah. But some of the highlights from that, not only the autograph. Actually, you know who else was signing? Let's see, Cary Elwes.
Oh, really?
His book. I think it was either a documentary on Princess Bride or something along those lines, and also the Green Ranger.
Really?
Yeah, the original Green Ranger from Power Rangers. I think he has a camp going.
Yeah, he's buff.
Yeah, and he's right next to Kevin Conroy, and it took me a second to recognize him. He has like a.
Is this just like the '90s nostalgia table?
Yeah. Well, I guess Princess Bride is '80s,
late '80s,
'87 wasn't it?
I think so.
But so yeah. But another highlight for me was there's one kid, and okay, if you're listening to this, kudos to you, who had a Grimlock costume. And he had this thing rigged up where when he's standing up, he's just walking around. But when he goes forward, the thing lights up and starts making sound effects and stuff. I gave him a standing ovation.
The costumes you see at these things are immensely creative, and I'm really marveled at. You'll see cosplays of something that was just announced with some concept art. Yeah. And like the next weekend, somebody's already got a costume of it.
Well, let's see. Another costume I did was for Monster Hunter. For those who know, it's the Lagai costume, and those who have no idea what I'm talking about, it's basically this really bulky, armor, and the only reason it works in a game is because who cares about clipping?
Yeah, it looked like Frank had skinned and was wearing a Gyarados from Pokemon.
That's basically what it is, only with feet, and so it's worse. But yeah, I remember hulking that thing around. That one I completed in a week. I had just moved out, and we were still like thinking about costumes, and I wanted to do costumes from Skyrim, but my girlfriend said it was too complicated. Let's do the Guy Chris outfit. So we finished that in a week, and yeah, it was basically I went to the costume contest and took it right off right afterwards because that one was a kind of a hulking mess to wear. Let's see.
See, my costumes have always been much more lazy. So far, my main cosplay at these conventions has been Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files, which is to say jeans, T-shirt, and a long coat.
It's an easy one.
I put some effort into it. I have a staff. I make walking sticks and staff, and this one is carved with Norse or burned in with Norse runes. I made the shield bracelet, and I have all the little accoutrements. But for the most part, it was 30 minutes on Etsy. It wasn't a week spent plastering things together.
So yeah, that was actually our first. That was actually a group cosplay. Mike, a friend of his. Should we say her name? So we say hi.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Marge.
All right, yeah, our friend Marge, she came down with us, and she was Corinne Murphy, and that was a funny cosplay because Corinne Murphy is a blonde policewoman who at various points wields a katana. So blonde woman in a biker jacket with a katana is approximately 8,000 anime characters, and about 3,000 video game characters. So no one recognized her unless she was standing next to me.
It was the same thing with my costume. Let's see, I was someone in a cloak and a sword. And my girlfriend was someone in scale mail and a hammer. So the three of us, me, Marge, and my girlfriend, us alone, we didn't get much attention, but as soon as we're next to Harry Dresden, that's...
Dresden is the most recognizable basically because of the staff.
Yeah, and
I got more compliments on the staff than any other part of the costume.
Let's see. The Hector outfit was recognizable, in Comic-Con to an extent. Is more of a video game character, and in Fire Emblem Awakening was the big breakout hit, though the series has been around for a while. Mm-hmm. But I got some recognition. Definitely got more recognition in MagFest. I dress as Hector. Of course, my girlfriend dressed as Lynn, his sort of canon wife. If you ever played the game and found all like the little secrets, it's basically stated that they're supposed to be together. So we tried Ogma and Minerva from the same series, but they're a lot more obscure.
Sometimes the obscure ones are the better ones because you don't see you're going to see a dozen of certain characters, but the obscure ones it creates something unique. And I think I like the effort put into them and the creativity. There's one group that comes to MagFest every year. They play a group of they pick a fighting game and they make their costumes out of duct tape. And the best, I think, was when they came from Virtua Fighter because the texture of the duct tape, they actually look like polygonal characters.
From that time,
yeah. There was another guy who came as Maximo, which is a PlayStation 2 game,
funny story with him when you're done.
Ghosts and Goblins, and he had his costume rigged up so that if you've ever played Ghosts and Goblins or Maximo, you take one hit and your armor pops off and you're in Heartprint boxers. This guy had his entire armor held together by a linchpin, so he could at any point pop it all off and he was there in his boxers. And that alone, the effort, it took him about 5 minutes to get back into the getup, but that kind of commitment to the theme of the character is one of the things that impresses me the most about cosplayers.
See, me and Mike saw him in, it might have been MagFest.
It was MagFest.
It was MagFest. It was another venue where it was at. And so a few years later, I actually met him. I was right behind him in line to introduce themselves. So we made arrangements where I'll come up behind him and hit him. So I came behind him, yelled critical hit. I was dressed as Ogma, and got him in the back and did the whole shtick. And I'm trying to introduce myself. Meanwhile, this all is chaos and right behind me, him trying to pick up his outfit.
The problem with an outfit that falls apart is that it falls apart.
Right. When it's meant to fall apart. Now, one last thing about costumes. Definitely test wear it before coming out because nothing is more exhausting than a part of your costume. Now, I've been to Renaissance fairs. I'm in the SCA.
Society for Creative Anachronism.
Yeah, and acronyms. And long story short, we do a lot of evil stuff, and we hit each other with sticks. And one time, the little dragon puppet was kept on, and for some reason, kept on just falling over, and that
it was mounted on his shoulder. He's motioning toward his shoulder, but this is an audio-only medium, so you can't see that.
Yes, I don't even have arms, but
which makes it really hard to motion toward his shoulder.
Yeah. I use my brain anyway. So there's nothing more exhausting than a piece of your costume constantly falling apart. There's really nothing like it.
Or finding out that the huge shoulders that you have on your costume don't fit through most doors. I've seen that happen a couple times.
Oh, yeah. See, the Lagiacrus outfit has a series of horns, one big one. And
on the head.
And getting through doorways was... it was a new talent I had to learn.
Yeah, you have to kind of... Yeah, so test wear it. Make sure that all your bits are within the vehicle when it starts to move.
So
and, in cosplays, and MagFest in particular has a lot of interesting panels. A lot of voice actors will go. I love seeing the voice panels because one of my favorites is you have 5 or 6 voice actors from games like GLaDOS, and they go through and they'll read script. If you've never heard Gladys doing the diner scene from When Harry Met Sally. Look it up on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but really, I think one of the people who really started, the voice panels was good old John St. John, Duke Nukem.
Yeah, he hasn't been to MagFest in a while, but he was coming every year, and he would have a late night panel where basically everybody who came up to ask him a question would do shots with him, to the point where the hotel started going, okay, guys, you got to stop this and take it outside. But it was just a fantastic time. There was really no schedule to the panel or talking points. He was just basically there to chill out with all the fans.
See, when he first showed up, it kind of felt like typical celebrity being there late, leaving early. But since then, he really grew with the community, and he became one of the highlights. One panel he was a part of was what is the greatest movie of all time and why it's Die Hard.
Yeah, that was a fun panel, because it was basically just an hour gushing about Die Hard.
Yeah, it was a last-minute scheduled thing. Someone was there simply because he looked like Hans Gruber.
Yeah, that was the entire reason. He knew he found out he was on the panel about 15 minutes before he started. Yeah. When his friend, one of the organizers goes, "You look like Hans Gruber. Get your suit on and get in there."
Yeah, and and toward the end, it goes, "Oh, we got about 5 minutes left. Did we really just spend 55 minutes talking about how awesome Die Hard is?" So John St. John was a good time. He hasn't shown up in a while, but good old Wes Johnson, the voice of Cyrodiil, a.k.a. the voice of every Imperial in Oblivion, basically took the helm because, well, we're near Bethesda, the company. Mm-hmm. And Wes Johnson also is the announcer for the Washington Capitals, which we're near.
Yeah, so he'll read scripts in that voice.
Yeah. So one time they dubbed over like an old 40s commercial about coffee, and I'm not going to repeat what they said, but it was pretty funny. And also an old Snap Crackle Pop.
Yeah, so there's a bit of vulgarity in any of these panels, because when you have voice actors for kids and video game stuff and you let them loose, they want to swear.
Well, I wouldn't say all those voice actors were for kids.
Well, kids and video games, there is kind of a
well, GLaDOS, Wes Johnson.
There is the perception that games are for kids, but you know what I mean. Games tend to be family friendly, at least. GLaDOS isn't telling anybody to F off. Yeah. For instance,
another one, Matt Mercer. The guy who goes, "It's high noon" in Overwatch, and also who did the voice of Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening. For those who know,
I have a funny story I heard about Matt Mercer. It has nothing to do with conventions. But he was playing, he likes to play Overwatch, and he voices McCree, and It's High Noon is the signal that McCree is going to basically shoot everybody in view and instantly kill them. So anytime anybody in the game hears it, they duck for cover. Overwatch has a voice chat. So Matt Mercer will play, but not as McCree, and just start yelling, "It's high noon," and watching everybody panic, even though there isn't even McCree playing the game. Or he'll screw with them, like, "It's 9:30." And I just love that kind of sense of humor and that connection with with the game. Like, he's just not doing this voice for a paycheck. He apparently really likes the game too, likes it enough to play it and screw with people. So I like any kind of voice actor or celebrity who is willing to engage and go the extra mile on that. Yeah. And that's kind of what conventions bring to you.
Yeah.
Sure, a lot of them are in it for the paycheck. A lot of them do go to these conventions basically because they are contractually obligated. And, some of them are, they will come, they'll do their panel and leave. But a lot of them get involved in it. I think it was Bryan Cranston once went to a convention wearing a mask from Breaking Bad as his character from Breaking Bad, walking around the show panel, and then goes to his panel and finally takes the mask off, and everybody's like, "Oh crap, that was him the whole time."
Yeah.
I love that. I love that kind of engagement. Adam Savage does the same kind of thing, where he will go in this full face cosplay just to mingle. So I'm looking forward to MagFest this year. I think registration starts in a couple weeks. I'm going as a new character from novels that I have wrote. So I'm probably going to be plugging the hell out of that when the time comes.
Read my book. Read my book.
Please. Frank's in it too, sort of.
Yeah. So all three of you who are listening, if you want to come over.
I saw there was about 30 hits on YouTube, so we're getting somewhere.
Though I wonder if how many of those were me just obsessively looking at it.
Yeah, it could be.
But
so I think we've exhausted what we were going to say today.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, keep doing these films, and we'll find something else to talk about besides superheroes next time.
Yeah, I promise. Something besides superheroes, probably video games.
Yeah, and we'll save that for next time. Thank you for listening.
Yep, I'm Mike Curley,
and I'm Frank Curley.
Okay, we are recording, so...
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
See, that's what the lines mean. That means recording.
Yeah.
I'm coming in really low. Hold on.